Jack Torrance, Jack Nicholson, a former instructor and sober man, attends an interview for a caretaker post at the Overlook Hotel in an effort to rebuild his life after losing his teaching career due to his explosive temper. Mr. Stuart Ullman, Barry Nelson, the hotel manager, informs Jack that he and his family will be stranded in the snow for the majority of the winter and that they run the risk of developing cabin fever. By describing a season in which the groundskeeper, Charles Grady, went insane and brutally murdered his wife, his two daughters, Lisa Burns and Louise Burns, and then himself, he makes his argument. Jack acknowledges the warning but decides to take the job because of his own desperation and the chance to pursue his genuine passion, writing. When discussing the Overlook Hotel with his imaginary buddy Tony, Jack's son Danny Lloyd, had a seizure. In his dream, which reappears multiple times in the movie, blood is seen splashing out of an elevator in the hotel. Danny arrives at the hotel, and when he learns he can communicate telepathically, head chef Dick Halloran, Scatman Crothers, offers him some ice cream. He reveals that both his grandmother and he possessed the ability to communicate in a way she called shining. Danny receives advice from him regarding the hotel as well. He makes a hint that something dreadful had occurred there and left a trace, as if someone burned toast, which only those with the ability to shine will see. Danny interrogates Dick about what transpired in the hotel and specifically about room 237 since he senses that Dick is particularly terrified of that space. Dick firmly orders Danny to leave that room despite his best efforts to reassure Danny that what he sees at the hotel is merely like pictures in a book and cannot harm him. As soon as the family is left alone at the hotel, Jack's mental state quickly deteriorates. He is agitated, sleeps insufficiently, and struggles with writer's block. Danny sees the two Grady girls who were killed in his dreams, but keeps it a secret. He keeps thinking about room 237. Jack's wife Wendy, Shelley Duvall, and Danny wander through a maze of tall hedges while the weather is still fairly warm, making a game out of it, stopping at dead ends and correcting their errors. One day, Danny is playing with his toys when a ball slides towards him. It appears to have originated from room 237's open door, which Danny walks through. When Wendy hears Jack screaming in the living room, she runs out of the basement. He claims to have had a dream in which he chopped Danny and her to pieces with an axe. An unnerved Wendy assures him that everything's going to be okay, as Danny, who is seated at the opposite end of the room, walks in with a confused expression and a thumb-sucking. He has bruises on his neck, and his sweater is torn. When Wendy inquires as to what transpired, he stays silent. She angrily accuses Jack of hurting Danny and takes the child back to their suite. Jack is enraged by the charge. He makes his way to the Gold Ballroom by stomping through the hotel. Jack, who has his head in his hands and has slumped dejectedly onto a stool at an empty bar, claims he would give his soul in exchange for one drink. He finds a bartender, Joe Turkel, when he looks up, and he is given a drink. Jack doesn't seem surprised by the bartender's unexpected entrance and even uses his name, Lloyd. Jack confesses to Lloyd about his problems and how he accidentally dislocated Danny's shoulder, the same incident Wendy had earlier recounted to Danny's pediatrician. Interestingly, Jack claims that the injury occurred 3 years ago, although Wendy revealed that Jack has only been clean for 5 months despite having sworn to stop drinking immediately after the accident. As Jack appears to be alone himself at the bar, Wendy rushes in and begs him to look into Danny's accusation that a crazy woman attacked him in room 237's bathtub. Jack, who appears a little inebriated, reluctantly agrees to go take a look. In room 237, Danny appears to be having a seizure as Jack approaches the door. Dick notices a signal Danny is transmitting while he is still at his Florida house and looks on with wide eyes. Jack enters room 237 with caution. He moves on to the bathroom because the bedroom is empty. He lustfully observes as a young, stunning, naked woman, Leah Beldam, carefully exits the bathtub by pulling back the shower curtain. They walk towards one another and give one another a passionate kiss. When Jack catches a glance of the woman in the mirror, he realizes that she is actually a dead corpse. The young woman in front of him has changed into an elderly woman, Billy Gibson, a walking corpse with decaying, sagging skin. He recoils in fear. She extends her arms towards him and giggles maniacally. Jack leaves the room in a daze and locks the door behind him. Jack disputes any wrongdoing in room 237 when he relays his findings to Wendy. Wendy advises that they visit a doctor with Danny. Jack becomes enraged and chastises Wendy for her imprudence while holding her responsible for all of his problems. He rushes out, insisting they can't leave the hotel because of his duty to his employers. He then goes back to the Gold Room, where there is now a lavish party going on with people wearing 1920s attire. He receives a drink from Lloyd, and Jack moves through the crowd. He doesn't go very far when he is struck by a butler who is carrying a platter and has avocado all over his jacket. Jack is persuaded by the butler to enter the bathroom to clean up. Delbert Grady is the butler's first name, Philip Stone. Grady is confronted with the facts as Jack recalls the tale Mr. Ullman told him about a former carer named Grady killing his family. Grady argues that Jack has always been the caretaker and denies that anything of the such ever occurred. Jack is perplexed, but appears to believe Grady's account. Grady continues by accusing Jack of utilizing Danny's amazing talent to involve an outside party and using a racist epithet to describe Dick Halloran. Grady gives Jack advice on how to fix Danny and how to handle Wendy in the event that she becomes involved. Dick has tried unsuccessfully to get in touch with anyone at the Overlook Hotel while back in Florida. He books the next trip to Colorado out of concern for Danny. Wendy prepares a baseball bat at the Overlook and searches for Jack with the intention of leaving the hotel with Danny whether or not Jack agrees to do so. As she walks inside the lounge, she notices Jack's manuscript next to the typewriter left unattended. She reads the hundreds of pages that Jack has written in which he repeats the phrase, "All work and no play makes Jack a boring lad." She understands that Jack has become insane. "How do you like it?" Jack replies cynically as he approaches from behind. Wendy cries out in panic before turning to face him. Jack confronts Wendy and brandishes the bat as she flees as he presses her to reveal her plans for leaving the hotel with Danny. Jack says he won't hurt her despite her cries for him not to. Instead, he plans to kill her. At the top of a flight of stairs, Wendy smacks Jack in the head with the bat, forcing him to lose his equilibrium and fall, breaking his ankle in the process. Just as Jack starts to feel better, Wendy drags his lifeless corpse to the pantry and locks him inside. The radio and the snowcat were both sabotaged, Jack claims, leaving them all stranded. She checks on the snowcat outside and finds out what he had told her. A few hours later, Delbert Grady's voice wakes Jack up from his snooze. Grady expresses displeasure and lack of faith in Jack, but Jack reassures him that if given another chance, he can complete the task. Then, out of nowhere, the pantry door opens. Wendy is dozing off in her room. Danny is mumbling red rum over and again while in a trance and holding a knife. He writes "Redrum" on the bathroom door using Wendy's lipstick. He starts yelling "Redrum," arousing Wendy. While she clings to him, she notices the bathroom door's reflection in the mirror. On the back, it says, "Murder." Banging noises may be heard coming from the hallway door at that very moment. Jack is making an axe-swinging noise at the locked door. Wendy seizes Danny and confines him to the restroom. She throws Danny out of a small, snow-banked window after opening it, and he lands safely. She tries to exit by the same window but is unable to do so. She commands Danny to flee and hide. "Wendy, I'm home," Jack shouts as he crashes through the front door in the meantime. Then Jack gently knocks on the bathroom door. While Jack starts hacking at the door, Wendy is holding the knife and attempting to maintain her balance. He tears off one of the panels, yells, "Here's Johnny," and pokes his head through. A nod to the 1962 episode of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. To turn the lock, Jack pushes his hand inside the door. Jack recoils in pain as Wendy strikes at him with a knife, slashing his hand. Up until they both hear the faint rumble of an approaching snowcat motor, Jack keeps banging on the door with the axe. He exits quickly. Dick operates the snowcat. He shouts inside the motel but receives no response. Jack emerges from hiding behind a pillar, strikes the axe into Dick's chest, and kills him. Danny yells while hiding in a kitchen cabinet, disclosing his location. from the steel cabinet, he scrambles out and heads outside. In the meantime, Wendy left the restroom and started looking for Danny. Now that the hotel has come to life, Wendy also runs into some of its spirits, which horrifies and astounds her. Axe-wielding Jack flicks on the outside lights and chases Danny into the hedge maze at the same moment. Danny notices that he has left a trail of footprints in the snow for Jack to follow. He carefully retraces his steps, walking backwards in the same prints he just made in the opposite direction, then conceals himself behind a hedge. When Jack arrives, he notices that the trail of footprints ends abruptly, leaving him with no idea which direction Danny went. He chooses a path and plunges deeper into the maze. Danny emerges from his hiding spot and follows his own footprints back to the maze's entrance. Wendy leaves the hotel just as Danny emerges from the maze. She throws down the knife and embraces him, relieved. From deep within the maze, Jack screams in frustration. Danny and Wendy make quick getaway in the snowcat Dick used to get to the hotel. Jack freezes to death after becoming hopelessly lost in the maze. The camera slowly zooms in on a wall in the hotel full of old photographs chronicling the hotel's history just before the end credits. In the empty hallway, an old recording of Midnight, the Stars, and You echoes. A young Jack can be seen in the center of one of the photographs. Overlook Hotel, July 4th Ball, 1921. The caption reads, "Please subscribe my channel." Thanks for watching this video.